All right, guys, so we're having some real talk conversations with some real kids. Can you guys verify that you are real people?
Hi.
I am real.
I hope I'm real.
According
I'm
to
not
this
an alien.
reality, you're not an alien. So the next couple weeks, our youth group's walking through some difficult questions. And the first week, we're talking about creation. We're talking about where did everything come from? A lot of questions that people have tends to be around that time of like, how did everything come to be? Why are things the way that they are? And so the series that we're going through is answering these questions. There's 7 big questions that we believe need to be answered from the book of Genesis. So the first 12 chapters of Genesis is where we're going to be for the next few weeks, actually the next couple months. And so with that, the very first week, Genesis 1 opens up with God creating the earth. Now, everybody doesn't believe that. Not every single person on this earth believes that there is a God or that he created the world. But what are some things that you guys have heard, some explanations of why everything came to be or how it came to be?
I heard about like the Big Bang. Like I'm kind of all the scientists think like differently, like the Big Bang, like or how we were created, evolution. So it's like kind of hard to figure out how it's actually created if like you're skeptical about the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've always kind of like thought of it as the Big Bang being God, like doing that to the world, like how it was just like playing, and then one day it just kind of all happened. That's just kind of how I always thought it was like to come.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
So Sean, how would you describe like the Big Bang theory or how it's been taught to you?
Well, how I learned it in like science class is like a whole bunch of like asteroids collided together. But what I would think is that God like made that Big Bang theory happen, and then just like so on and so forth.
Right. So what I'm hearing from you guys is that usually when you learn something like that at school, you're kind of trying to match it with what you know that the Bible says and trying to fit both of them together. So you're trying to show your friends, hey, well, maybe it just wasn't random. Maybe there was some purpose to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, just on a basic level, like, why do you think it's important to know? Do you think it's actually important to know how everything started, or is this kind of a waste of time?
It's important, but nowadays, I guess that's not like the main focus, I guess. But it's still a good topic.
I mean, I think of it like a math problem. You can't just like start in the middle of a math problem and like know where everything is going to go. You have to start at the very beginning to figure out like how you're going to solve the problem or like how you're going to get to that solution. It's like by starting at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to creation, what do you think your friends think? And do you think it really matters to them where everything came from?
Well, my friends, like we talk about God, but we don't really talk about the creation aspect of it. Like when I was in middle school, we talk about it a little more in there, and most of my friends thought it was all evolution. Like we all started like at this small being and slowly came up to what we were today.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you saying that that is not what the Bible says? Or can you say that maybe that is compatible with the Bible because maybe the Bible isn't as specific as like how everything's came to be?
It's like how some people think is like, oh, we all started from like a small fish and then started, well, at least that's what my friends in middle school said. But like we could, because we don't know how God made Adam and Eve look from when he first created them. So we could have changed like how we looked over time, because there are some like animals like, oh, this is what they looked like back then, but look how they look like now. So I can see that.
Monkey. The first one's really just monkeys.
Monkey man. Or are there anything?
Started losing her hair.
What are the confusing things? Like when you think about creation, when you're trying to think about today, what are some of the things that don't make sense? Like you talked about monkey men, like missing links and stuff, or like cavemen or dinosaurs. Like, what makes sense? What doesn't make sense?
It says that
they go extinct.
Yeah, it's like in the Bible. It says like in the beginning, like everything was basically black and there was nothing there. But then God created everything. So I'm confused. Like, where the heck were the dinosaurs? Like, were they in the little garden with Adam and Eve? Or was like
Maybe
the
after,
little
like, a
garden,
day.
like was Adam and Eve and they were all safe, and the outside of the garden was where all the dinosaurs roamed. That's what I kind of thought of it too.
It's a good questions. And I'm not here to provide a bunch of answers. And in a lot of the ways, the Bible actually doesn't provide a lot of answers on these things because the Bible is not a science textbook. Its purpose is beyond just like scientific facts. Like there's some science that it talks about, like some aspects of nature, but it doesn't give specific questions. So yeah, I don't even really know the answer to a lot of these questions. Like I have some guesses, like I can make some scientific guesses. But what do you think, Sean? You ever wondered why the Bible doesn't really seem to talk about dinosaurs too much?
It doesn't really talk about it, but there's in one place in the Bible where it describes a dinosaur, but since the term dinosaurs wasn't created until like around our time ish, then it just was able to describe it. So it's somewhere in the Bible, but
I kind of think the reason why I like the Bible isn't that very descriptive. Like Sean said, like some words back then weren't really created. But I also think that God like wanted us to like leave room for wonder. So like we are like can like think of some stuff. So like we don't have all the answers. So like he wants to give some people like, what do you think on this? Like dinosaurs. Like maybe he's like, I'll leave people to think what they think or something.
yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way that you said that. Leave room for wonder.
I concur.
Yeah, we could have just called our series that. Leave room for wonder.
That's a very good name.
Yeah.
Change it now.
Yeah, we got to change it now.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anything else when it comes to creation that you guys can think of? Do you think that there is a way for us to find out these answers like 100%, or do you kind of think that there's really no way that anyone could know?
I think there's really no way for everybody to know like the exact truth, because God only knows the exact truth. Because like we don't know when the end will be, but only God will. Like God knows exactly how everything was created, but we probably won't ever know how exactly it was created.
I mean, I've always like wondered about that because like with the dinosaur theory, like how they like were extinct and whatnot, like God, he created people so they would live forever and ever, and he had to change that because they were living too long. So like what if the first humans were really like with the dinosaurs? And like he just decided to erase that part of his history, and then he like recreated it all, and that's where like it all really started. Like that's always my question is like because he's had like many like mistakes, not mistakes, like experiments with the people.
Yeah, I've heard that perspective before too. So you're definitely not alone in thinking that. And it's hard to like pinpoint a time. Like Sean said, there's this part in the book of Job where God is like describing what sounds like a dinosaur or like a sea dragon or some kind of dragon or something that clearly is extinct now that we don't really know about. So there's a lot to wonder about that we don't really know. And some people think that, you know, T-Rexes clearly drown in the flood because they just have like these two little arms and they can't swim. So then there's other dinosaurs too that could swim.
Yeah.
Those are always the scariest dinosaurs to me. Like dinosaurs that can swim. Like I wouldn't want to. I'm glad that I live now, like in the 21st century, and not like
so
back
like
then.
all the way in the back.
Yeah. And Sean brought up something interesting too, that the term dinosaur is probably only in somebody at home can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's only like a couple hundred years old just because of all these excavations and findings. So the word for dinosaur is like unique to our time. And so a lot of people, when they look at history or they look at the Bible, they're only looking at it through their own little tiny lens. Like we only know what we know. You guys are teenagers right now, so you've only been on this earth for like 17 years or so tops. And so you only know what you've experienced and what you know. It's hard for us to wrap our minds around like a holistic view of history and the world. And so certain things that we know now, people didn't necessarily know back then, and vice versa. There's probably stuff that they knew now that went extinct or people just don't even talk about, and we don't even know how to ask the right questions now for those things. So kind of wrecks your brain. Cool. Well, I think you guys gave some pretty good questions. Any other comments or questions or anything you guys can think of?
Evolution wise, in science, they've they've noticed that all of our bone structures all similar to like all the past animals, I guess. So I guess some part of that can be a little bit true, but I don't know. It's not really all that clear, to be honest.
Yeah, there's always new stuff that we're learning. The cool thing is that the Bible stays the same. And so we can look at it for the answers that it gives us and try to make inferences based off of what it doesn't tell us. So you guys at home, if you're watching on Instagram or YouTube, you can drop in the comments and you could talk about maybe your versions to the answers of some of these questions, or even write some more questions. We want to be able to create real dialogue and real conversations, because students like you guys shouldn't be afraid to talk about this stuff. Like, it's okay to doubt certain things, and it's okay to question certain things. I think that's how you get stronger beliefs, is if you're willing to question them. So encourage you to do that. Thank you guys for joining me today. And if you want, for reference, read the first chapter of Genesis. The first 5 days of creation talks about most of the things that we talked about today. So check that out.